to my other self. Only a day later, the weekend has already arrived. I drop a heavy stack of books on the librarian's desk, not meaning to slam them, but they weigh so much that it happens anyway. Yuko bolts out of a chair with enough force to dislodge her glasses. She barely holds on to them. Oh, Sorry, I'm here to return all these books I was supposed to. That's great, but I wish you had brought them back sooner. It wouldn't be a problem if the library had more copies of everything, but it doesn't. And they act like that's my fault. They? Other students. They can be, pretty pushy. Don't tell me Hanako is one of those. I'm pretty sure she's not. But she's one person that does come to mind, as a student that regularly visits the library. Sorry, it just kinda slipped my mind. It's been a pretty rough couple of days. Oh, I suppose you don't want to talk about it. Yuko meekly turns to the task of logging all the books I've brought back as returned, treating them with extreme care and precision, like she's a bomb disposal technician rather than a librarian. Over the past couple of days, I've been thinking about something Misha said. Of course, I'd have thought about everything she said, but one thing in particular keeps coming back. She talked about how she didn't want to miss people or think about being apart from them anymore. When I recall those words, they stopped me cold, like a sharp slap across the cheek. In just a few months, we'll be graduating. Misha and Shizune were nearly inseparable, but after graduation, they might never see each other again. I wonder if that thought is what started all of this. If Misha were to try and talk to Shizune about it, Shizune likely wouldn't think about it at all. It would sadden her, and for that reason, she would try and toss it away. For someone like Shizune, who is so quick to suppress her worries, it would be easy. Misha turned out to be more sensitive than she seemed. It would have crushed her, even more so because Shizune's reaction could come off as pretty cold. I don't know if that's how Shizune handled it, but it seems likely, and I can understand why she would act that way. I can also understand why Misha would be troubled by the thought of drifting away from someone who is such an important part of her. I'd never thought about graduation until that moment. That's actually, I haven't really thought that much about it either, and haven't really put that into consideration about the events that happened at the end of Act 3. But I feel like that must be something that's on their mind as well, that the possibility of when they all graduate, they might never see each other ever again. Then I began to think things like, has it really only been less than a year? I started thinking of everyone I've met, not only Shizune and Misha, but everyone else. They were fond thoughts. Then I thought of losing them. Suddenly, I could understand Misha's anxieties. It could be nice to talk to someone about it. Actually, I kind of want to. With whom? Like she didn't even take into consideration that we wanted to talk with her about it. I can sense an obvious tinge of apprehension in her voice. With you. Ah, really? Are you sure? Why me? Because you're an adult. That's it? That's... Wincing, she fidgets a little in her seat, trying to get comfortable in a pretty uncomfortable looking way. I guess this means she's okay with it. Is it hard, being an adult? Yes, look at her face. She's like, oh god, adult life, please. Can I go back to being a child? I mean, I'm pretty sure most of us, if not everyone, would wish that at some point. I don't think I'm that old, though. It's surprising that students now, like Shizune and you, wear stuff like perfumes or cologne. I never did. I still don't use them. The thing is, I feel like that's not something... It kind of depends, but it's not necessarily something that comes with age, but more like, you know, if you like someone, you start to... It depends. It is, once again, very personal, but for some people that usually don't care much about that, about smelling nice or, you know, perfumes, colognes, whatever, might suddenly care about it because they have this special person that they're trying to impress or something like that, you know? By the way, you're not wearing your grape cologne today. Yeah, it wasn't working out for me. Yeah, it attracted unwanted attention. Oh, that's good. I thought the same thing. Sorry. It just made people around us hungry and thirsty, like, oh, I want some grape soda, or I could eat some grapes right now. Yuko looks genuinely sorry, and I feel a pang of guilt. I smile, despite myself. A tiny lie like that can come back to bite me in the butt. For Misha, trying to conceal how she felt in order to put on a happy face for Shizune for so long must have been crushing. Someone I know brought up that we're going to be graduating, and I realized that I've never thought about it before. I feel stupid that I could go so long and never think about these things. I've met a lot of great people, and I've never thought about what's it going to be like to graduate, and maybe never see them again. But I feel like, you know, graduation is usually something that comes after spending several years at the school, right? Whereas for Hisao, this is like his first year here, so it probably didn't even feel like graduating, you know? Because normally after 1 year of school, it's just like, oh fuck, next year, until the final year where you graduate. But if you move to a new school, I've never personally experienced myself, but I can imagine that you just kind of forget about that fact and treat it as it is your first year at this new school, which it is technically. But you know, the thought of graduation, even if it is your last year, it's probably not something that immediately comes to mind, I think. There are still ways you could keep in touch. Yes, I've heard about a new thing called the interwebs where you can send emails to each other. Yeah, I guess. I feel childish. I know everyone is going through the same thing, probably. I bet you hear this kind of problem a lot. No, I haven't been working here that long. I worried about the same thing when I graduated from high school. I didn't go to school here though. I also miss my friends. Yeah, of course. We knew she didn't go to school here. And I wish I kept in touch with them better. I should have tried harder. Yuko isn't really helping, making me feel better, and she clams up quickly when she sees it on my face. I don't want to look back and have those same regrets. I wonder if Shizune even thinks about that kind of stuff. Because she goes on sometimes about how she doesn't want to live with any regrets. Wow, that sounds impossible to me. I nod, only halfway wanting to agree. Even so, I think that is kind of admirable too. Kind of brave, don't you think? Brave is a new way to put it. Yuko shakes her head insistently. It's true though, and also kind of intimidating. Jeez, you shouldn't be intimidated by high schoolers. Yeah, you're an adult, Yuko, act like it. I'll try. She turns away to start folding a sticky note over and over. Pretty idle behavior for a university student, but more importantly, I wonder if I said the wrong thing to her. Being around Shizune for so long, I can't stop reading as much as I can into every moment of silence. If Yuko were the type of person who didn't get intimidated by high schoolers, it probably wouldn't be so easy to talk to her. It's all too easy to want to shed some negative quality of yours. When I think of everyone I know, it's those qualities that I like the best. I don't think I really regret it. I thought, as long as I could remember the good times, that was enough. I don't know. Sorry. I notice a couple of students starting to trickle into the library and decide that my time is up. No, that was helpful. I feel like two of my friends are fighting because one of them is taking the fact that we might not see each other again after we graduate really hard, and the other is probably being stoic about it, which only makes it worse. I don't get how I'm supposed to handle this kind of situation. It doesn't seem like the kind of problem where I'll have to end up taking a side. But it could turn out that way, and then I have no idea what I'm going to do. You should tell them they shouldn't fight. I know, fighting is bad. It's not Shizune and Misha, by the way. Okay, I wasn't really thinking that though. How embarrassing. Even though I knew it would be, I still feel my cheeks redden. And even so, I still said something so transparent and blatantly a lie. But it could be that sometimes that is the right way. Do you have any books about people who have to make hard decisions? We have a lot of self-help books. It's funny that I can find that surprising, because I wouldn't have only a few months ago. I meant about, not for. There aren't many, right? Yes, not many, I mean. Though I feel a bit apprehensive about it, I want to talk to Shizune. I don't understand why I feel nervous about it, and that disgusts me a little. It also motivates me to look for her, right then and there, although I don't have to look very hard. She's in the student council room, as always. Worryingly, Misha isn't with her. When Shizune notices me and looks up from her paperwork, the first thing I ask is where she is. I don't know. There is so much uncertainty in her answer that I can't let it go just like that. She's missing a lot of school. Are you the attendance police? That's really strange, coming from the student council president, exactly. Shizune hides a laugh behind a cupped hand, and I start to think that I might be worrying for nothing. But then her laughter slowly fades away to a more serious and pensive expression. You're right. Yesterday, I catch the hint of a knowing smile on her face when she sees my poorly hidden panic at the word. Despite her best efforts, she can't help being satisfied in eliciting surprise from everyone else to the very end. Even then, I can see that she has bigger concerns from how quickly her smile vanishes. Before either of you noticed me, I saw what you were saying. I'm not stupid. Oh, what? If I hadn't, I could still see through Misha while we were walking back, even if she hadn't told me everything later. She didn't make a big deal out of it, but any way you look at it, it's my fault, isn't it? What is she talking about? What did she tell you? Shizune winces at the question, though it's clear she's been expecting it. She follows it up with a very grand gesture. What exactly did Misha tell Shizune? A lot. Can you be more specific? Like, that I can be selfish and confusing. I tried too hard to bring people around me, and then push them away. I didn't know what I should do. I thought she was right to mention all of these things, so I just agreed with her, but that only made things worse. I don't understand. Adjusting her glasses, she looks pretty tired. I hope it isn't because she's been busy avoiding Misha, but I can't help considering the possibility, seeing where this conversation is going. The thing is, if she's trying to avoid Misha, then the student council office or whatever, isn't really the best place to do that. It's true. Even the student council being this small, and us always being swamped with work, it is my fault. I might have even ended up driving a lot of people off and away from the student council, acting like that. A little bit. Shizune, it's just I just gotta say that it's not for everybody. Like some people can't really handle a person like that being that kind of, you know, in their face, not really in their face about it, but you know what I mean? Just the way that Shizune is. Some people just don't really react to that well. And that's the reason why like previous student council members eventually just stopped coming, right? Shizune wags a finger mischievously, acknowledging that might is an understatement. However, from how wearily she does it, it's obvious the humor is only to put me at ease, and therefore not genuine. Like Lily, for instance, she was the first person to join when I started trying to recruit people again after everyone else left, because they couldn't stand me, I guess. We managed to put together the last festival, and even ran a booth together at last minute. But I didn't like her because I thought she was selfish, always holding us up in order to tend to one friend of hers or another, and leaving Misha and me alone to sort out things involving the whole school by ourselves. If there was any problem she was going through, she would leave us high and dry, while she panicked over it, and wouldn't come back until it was solved. She would focus on it 100%, and be too preoccupied to focus on any student council work. That was the worst to me, that she could be so nice, and still take so many people for granted. Why even join the student council then? It seems so short-sighted, and selfish, don't you think? But it's actually me who's that way. Like Misha said, I always trying to pull people close to me and then shutting them out. That is how I've treated her, which makes me a bad friend, and it feels like I did the same thing to you then. So I guess I'm a bad girlfriend too, even if Misha says that you might as well replace her. I'm angry that I screwed things up enough for it to get this out of hand. All I wanted to do was to... She pauses to look for the right words, tenting her fingers in concentration. Make people happy, I think. Even though that seems like a simple way to put it. As she rests her head against her hand, Shizune's bangs fall delicately across her eyes, hidden behind those polished glasses, reflecting just the tiniest bit of light. It may be wrong to think so, but right now, she seems especially beautiful, like a more complete person. It feels like this is my first chance to respond to her outpouring of emotions. Replacing Misha as Shizune's interpreter? Misha must be joking. It took all my energy to keep up with her just now, her signing filled with gestures that I've never seen before. Likely, their habits picked up from Misha and developed from years of them being together. I could never replace someone so close to her. I like you because I like you, not because I got tricked into it by you. Despite how hard she tried anyway, I continued to stare back into her eyes, as sharp as ever. The first time I saw them, they seemed a bit intimidating to me, like the eyes of a predator. That hasn't changed, which I find reassuring. I still want to make everyone happy. Starting with Misha? Shizune looks a bit annoyed that I would imply she would start with anyone else, and smiles confidently, as though a friend's sadness is a physical opponent she can just strangle into submission. Of course, obviously, naturally. Taking off her glasses, she leans back in her chair and lets out a sigh. It's the first time I've seen her without them on exactly, but I don't get a good look before she slips them back on. No! Damn it! She even had her eyes closed too, so you couldn't get a good look at her without her glasses. But I'm too tired to start today. First thing tomorrow. That's the thing about glasses. Some people look completely different with glasses on and off. Like it's just a world of difference. Do you want to help? Yeah, sure. It's not gonna be awkward at all. And I have other student council stuff you could help me with while you're at it. Although it turns out that there isn't much other work at all. There's no school today, so I expected to be able to sleep in late. Unfortunately, I'm awakened by someone mercilessly pounding on my door at 8 in the morning. Oh god, not Kenji. Maybe Misha? At first, I think it could be Kenji, but when my shouts of annoyance go unanswered, I realize it's Shizune. It is Shizune, the last person I thought about. Don't know why actually. She should be the first person on my mind. She immediately backs away from the door when I open it, quickly concealing something behind her back. Kind of ominous. What's that? Is it a surprise? I don't really like surprises. The displeased expression on her face says that she wants me to stop being such a wet blanket, but she's too busy fumbling with what's behind her back to sign it. It must be frustrating for her, because seconds later, she swings the object out, proudly, and also a little dangerously. Ta-da! A picnic basket. We can have lunch together, the three of us. It's not really a basket. It looks more like a plastic bag. Taking a quick look inside, I can see that most of the food inside are also store-bought, not homemade. Some items still have the price stickers on them. There's a very diverse selection here though. Even a tiny can of caviar, ooh, fancy. I'm slowly becoming more impressed with this lunch. I pick a grape out of there and pop it in my mouth. Aren't we going to make cologne out of it? Don't just take things like that. I spent all night perfecting this final weapon. Shizune places it down on the ground to free up her hands, and immediately starts playfully tapping it between her feet like a soccer ball. Definitely not what you should do with anything you're going to call a final weapon. All part of my get Misha to stop being so depressed plan. Catchy name. I stayed up all night working on it. Not the name, I hope, right? You didn't spend the whole night working on the name? You better not. Cause if that's the best you could come up with, that's kinda depressing. Which is ironic because the whole, thing we tried to achieve with the plan is to get rid of the depression. When we tried to order in last time, Misha barely got anything, and used it as an excuse to leave early. I won't let her get off so easily this time. The food is already here. She'll have to sit down and eat with us. It's the perfect bait. Doesn't everything look irresistible? I tried to make it myself, but I don't know how to make it look all fancy, so I ended up buying everything. Still looks delicious, doesn't it? It should be. She's very perky today, juiced up on the thought of cheering Misha up, although it's odd to see her so happy about it. I know that she's just as unsure now as she was yesterday. The only thing that has changed is that by viewing it as another sort of challenge for herself, she can put her worries aside and throw herself into it recklessly. It has worked well enough for Shizune so far. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the only way she knows how to live. It's a little early though. It's already 8 in the morning. That's late. Even Misha gets up at 8 or 9. She goes to bed at 7 p.m. But that isn't important. What? She goes to sleep so early? It's very important. Shizune ignores me, gagging my hands by taking them in hers, instead of a more proper rebuttal. The way she lingers against me a moment longer than expected feels really comforting. The point is, she's awake right now, walking around somewhere. Let's go find her. She sprints out the door impatiently, and her gusto, as she drags me along, looking for Misha, makes me feel like I'm following a hunter on a safari than looking for a mutual friend. We don't have to look very hard. Even cropped short, her pink hair stands out. The fact that she's just meandering around the grounds out in the open makes it even easier. Now I'm sounding like a safari hunter. Misha! Huh? We were just looking for you. It's a good day for a picnic. You should join us. We even have caviar. Not sturgeon, of course, but really tasty. Caviar? Surgeon? Apparently finding it annoying to have to explain anything at length with only one hand, Shizune gives up quickly. Fish eggs. What? It tastes good.
Sorry, Shi-chan. I think I'll pass for today.
When Misha starts to walk away, Shizune holds the bag out towards me, needing me to take it so that her hands can be free. Uh-oh, what's your move, Shizune? As soon as it's out of her hands, she darts in front of Misha, cutting her off. I made so much food though.
Sorry, I'm just not so hungry right now.
When are you going to be hungry then?
Shi-chan, it's impossible to know.
You can guess. The tension between them infuriates Shizune, and she's trying to deal with it by trying to tear through it, but that approach isn't going to work. I thought and hoped that Misha had gotten herself together, but I guess she was just cut too deep by what happened. In that case, it's really out of anyone's hands. I believe that Shizune might understand that, on some level. If she didn't, she wouldn't have any doubts at all. Because she can't speak though, I've learned to notice her hesitation. It's very clear, she might as well be screaming. Misha waves her hand in front of her, not wanting to continue the discussion any further, and quickly slips away. Shizune fumes silently, reluctant to let her go, but having no way to keep her here. As Misha's back grows smaller in the distance, I wonder where she's heading off to. Is Shizune wondering the same thing, as she bites her lip in frustration? I want to touch her reassuringly on the shoulder, but I stop myself, not knowing if it's the right thing to do. Not because she looks fragile, vulnerable, or sad. It's the opposite. After a while, her expression belies no emotion at all, only contemplation. Suddenly, she whirls around. Now all this food is going to go to waste. Yeah. That makes me mad. Although it's obvious, Shizune is more hurt than mad. The bag dangling from her hand feels like it's filled with lead. Let's go on a date. Let's use it then. At least I had similar thoughts. Where do you want to go? I don't know. The roof. Perfect. It's my favorite spot. A wry smile appears on her face, disappearing just as quickly. On the roof, I immediately crack open the caviar, of course, immediately to the good stuff, ignoring a derisive look from Shizune all the while. I end up putting it down immediately. Where are the toast points? I didn't make any. Like I told you, I bought everything, okay? Didn't you buy any toast points? Not toast points though. Why is that important? Anyway, they don't sell just toast points. That will be stupid. I bet they do, I'm pretty sure they do. Maybe in stores for the exceptionally lazy, but not here. Why don't you use a tortilla chip? A tortilla chip is not the same. They're both triangles. Stop being such a princess. I didn't know there was a proper way to eat caviar. This is the first time I'm hearing of it. It's not the same thing at all. It's like, trying to replace hamburger buns with just regular bread or something. It's not the same. I can't be decadent like this. And anyway, how can she not know? She lives in a huge mansion. Shizune takes the opportunity to scoop half the tin onto a single chip in the meantime. Hey! I'm sure it doesn't even taste good like that. Does she regret her decision? There is too much food here for two people, because we can't communicate with each other while we eat. Both Shizune and I have a lot of time to sit in silence and think about the fact that Misha, the person she set all of this up for, isn't here. It's annoying that she isn't here. I can't even enjoy my meal like this. I stare at the paper cup next to her, still half full of juice. I thought you didn't want all this food to go to waste. I wanted Misha to be here too. that was the whole point. I wasn't able to accomplish what I wanted to, so it doesn't taste good. Does that actually ruin the taste of the food? You should eat it. Eat more. Are you saying I'm skinny? Are you calling me skinny? I wanted the fried things though. You keep eating them all, even though you say they don't taste good. Fried things are always delicious. There's always an exception for them. You'll get fat. Oh, don't say that to your girl, Hisao. Don't say that. I think you're being too aggressive. You don't mention the F word and her name in the same sentence, or anything referring to your girlfriend. No. That's mistake number one, Hisao. It's like I told you yesterday. I'm only trying to cheer her up. Yeah, but it seems more like you're planning a military campaign. I'm only trying to take it seriously. And this is the only way I know how to do it seriously. I feel so powerless. I hate it. I can't even yell at her too, even though I want to. Yelling is for serious occasions, right? Yeah. You should yell at Misha for me. You can tell her that I want her to stop being so down. Even if she feels sad and alone, it's no reason to stay gloomy forever. But Misha, have you ever thought to hear and think about the reason why she is feeling down? Because just being yelled at, and the thing is, like, if you're sad or down, a person telling you to stop being sad or down doesn't help at all. It just doesn't help. You need to kind of, try and understand it from the other person's perspective, try to hear their story or their side of the story, and then figure out why they're sad, and then try and cheer them up in some way. I mean, if the person isn't willing to tell them, then you can try and cheer them up by doing something to keep their mind off of it, but in this case it's really difficult, because the reason why Misha's being sad and upset kind of is because of Shizune. So, if it's because of the person, then that person obviously can't really cheer you up, right? Because unless that person did something wrong and is trying to do it right now. But Shizune seems completely oblivious, right? Because Misha hasn't told her. Well, she has, but that was a long time ago, and I feel like Shizune doesn't think about that anymore, about the fact that Misha confessed to her. So yeah, I just feel like, just simply telling her to stop being so down does not help at all. Why don't you? I already did. Over a game of dice. Over, to be exact. I won 5 times. Only the 2 of them would take so much pride in winning games of pure chance. Then I tried to talk to her, but it didn't go so well, obviously. Well, so did I. I tried and failed. My goal has always been to do everything better though. Yeah, your one-upmanship is really something. But I failed too. That's why I want your help. Oh, you think our combined power and strength is good enough this time? I don't understand what I'm supposed to do anymore. For someone like Shizune, who has only ever interacted with the world by locking horns with every obstacle in her path, understanding only goes so far. I want to tell her that she doesn't have to worry, that she is great at cheering people up, because she managed to cheer me up my first week here. In retrospect, I must have looked like kind of a dick, being in such a sour mood from the moment I even came here, even though I don't think I was being unreasonable. Even having months to digest it, finding out that you have a heart defect like I did is hard to deal with. I'd had much less time to mull over suddenly being transferred to Yamaku on top of that. Spending the festival with Shizune really helped me out of a rut. I was happy, enough to forget that the entire time it had felt as though she were manipulating me. I understand now that I allowed myself to be manipulated. Even though I felt like I was at the bottom of the world, I still wanted to have a normal life again. I'm sure, because I enjoy what I have now. I think it must be the same for everyone, including Misha. Everyone wants someone there to pull them up out of their self-pity. It's just that Misha always wanted Shizune to be that person, but because they can't be together, I think Misha feels that she can't accept Shizune's hand, and that frustrates Shizune. But if she could cheer up a stranger like me, then she'll die trying with Misha. I can see it in her eyes too, though she tries to treat it like any other problem in her life. Shizune cannot do that with Misha's depression. Her thought processes are entirely different. In some ways more careful, in some ways more reckless and frenetic. She cares that much more. I end up not saying anything, partly because sitting next to her like this, just the two of us, is pleasant enough in itself that I don't want to interrupt the moment with a question, and partly for a more cowardly reason. I've started to think they weren't, but I don't know if her actions that day might not have been an afterthought or even a fluke, just a collection of coincidences. I don't know if that would change anything, but I'm uncomfortable thinking about it. The thing that really bothers me a little bit, right, is that it feels like Hisao just... It's like he fucking forgot what happened between him and Misha. Right? I feel like he just entirely acts like that never fucking happened at all. And that bothers me a little bit, because shouldn't that create some sort of tension between him and Shizune? Or at least tension between all three? Like, definitely there should be some sort of awkwardness between Hisao himself whenever he sees Shizune, and especially then when Misha was around as well. But it felt like that wasn't even a problem. Despite Misha and Hisao actually, having had sex together, the biggest problem that seems to be there is the fact that Misha is being depressed. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that that's not a bigger problem, but just the fact that the other issue is not addressed at all and actually seems like it's just entirely invisible makes it a bit weird for me. The fence behind me trembles slightly, and I turn to see that it's because Shizune has fallen asleep leaning against it. Considering she was up all night, it's not surprising. Where does all that motivation come from? Not just in regards to Misha. I'm cynical, so it's hard for me to just accept that anyone can simply be that strong. My first thought was that maybe it's because she hates herself. It's very plausible. Leaning against her, I feel sad knowing that that might be the case. But it could be that we're similar in that we both want to be better people. It seems like I ate too much yesterday, because I wake up in the morning feeling just nauseous enough for it to be a problem. I can't really postpone going into town for shopping though, so despite wanting to roll over and sleep it away, I force myself to get up and dress instead. Somewhere between buying toothpaste and a few other groceries, I end up walking it off. Then, I feel hungry. After stopping for breakfast, it hits me how much time has gone by. I hadn't expected to be out this long at all. I'm not even sure if I bothered to lock my door. I really should get back. Oh, what? Hideaki? When I get back to the dorm, I see Hideaki standing in front of my room from the entrance. I can think of a few things more unexpected, and I can't help thinking I might have a heart attack just from the surprise. Fortunately, it doesn't happen. As soon as he sees me, he says hello in his usual detached way. I'm a little slow to reply to him, so he repeats the greeting without missing a beat. Hello. Is something wrong? I'm just surprised to see you here, yeah. Not as surprised as I could have been, since it's impossible to mistake him for anyone else. I'd recognize those weird clothes anywhere. Come to think of it, I've really surrounded myself with distinctive looking people lately. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be able to confuse Hideaki with anyone else when you just look at his clothes from like a distance even. And it's true, like, Hideaki is pretty distinctive. You can easily tell him apart out of a crowd. Misha too. Shizune kind of too, considering she has bluish hair. But yeah, all the people are actually, they pop out of a crowd for sure. Hideaki's head lolls slightly to one side, a little too easily. Why? Is it unusual to see someone's family come to see them? Family? What? Why is he referring to us as family? I mean, as far as I know, there aren't any plans for me and Shizune to get married. Well, yeah, actually. So, Hideaki isn't such a robot after all. In fact, it's almost as if he's caught off guard It's almost as if he's more caught off guard by the fact that he even can be caught off guard, but he quickly recovers. Nevertheless, in that brief moment, he looks his age. That uncomfortable side of his seems like the more honest, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of it. Not so much though, that I'd go out of my way to pry. Only Shizune would be that zealous. That my thoughts get so far is proof that she's rubbing off on me. I think that you'd have a reason, that's all. There is one. See? Anyway, we can talk while we're looking for her. That's why you're here, right? Shizune's in the student council room. I was looking for you. We might take a trip soon. A family trip. Do you think she would want to come with us? You're asking me for that? What? Yeah, I don't know. She's been kind of on the warpath lately, with a lot of stuff. And once she's focused on something, she just won't drop it. I guess you would know that. Hideaki looks much more at ease walking around than I did at my first week. So, I take it this isn't your first time here? Just throwing it out there. Of course, completely ignoring the surrounding environment could just run in the family. I didn't explain why Hideaki seems so distant from Shizune. I get the feeling there's more to it than just her deafness. No, but this is the first time I could walk around so much. It is kind of weird here. I bumped into a person who told me women are not allowed in the dorms. After I told him I'm not a woman, he told me I was misleading, and then accused me of being an assassin. Classic Kenji, of course. I kind of feel bad for Hideaki that, like, the first person he comes in contact to at this school, is Kenji, because Kenji is not a representative person of the people here, right? He is an obvious exception. I was warned that he was not only invincible, but strong enough to probably destroy the building with a punch, or at least knock over the painting hanging in the hallway. By the way, that painting is actually screwed to the wall. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure people freaked the fuck out when they saw it and tried to take it off, but I don't know whose idea it was to put that painting in there. You know exactly which painting I'm talking about. But yeah, whoever the hell put that was like, I'm actually worried that either people are gonna steal it, or people are gonna take it off because they're so freaked out by it. But I don't want that to happen, so he's just gonna screw it onto the wall like, nope, people aren't taking this off no matter what. This is meant to screw people, or scare people actually, not screw people. Paintings don't do that. Yeah, that's the guy across the hall from me. He's okay. As far as lunatics, crazy people go, sure, he's okay. I see. Oh, you left your door open. It was unlocked when I came here. I am a little annoyed that Hideaki knows that. The only way he could is if he had opened my door, but the feeling passes. It doesn't matter. I have nothing to hide. Or steal. Yeah, we have nothing valuable whatsoever. Your soccer ball is really nice. Damn it, okay, we have something that Hideaki's like, oh yeah, are you sure about that? I saw a pretty awesome looking soccer ball that I want. That's one of the things that doesn't matter. If you're a soccer player, a soccer ball is very important. I guess it is. The thought makes me smile. I'm here because my father bought me a new phone, and he wanted to update Shizune in case he needs to call him, or she needs to call him. I thought that you should know too, since you're her boyfriend, aren't you? Technically still yeah, but I feel like, I don't know. It's kind of what I mentioned earlier, like, okay, now I'm actually questioning, did that scene even happen at all, or was it just a dream or something? Cause it's not being addressed at all, and that frightens me actually. Or did they have like just an Like, you know, they didn't even have to talk about it, but without actually talking about it, Misha and Hisao just had an agreement. They just looked each other in the eyes and like, alright, what happened in that room stays in that room, okay? Nothing is good. It's not going to be talked about. We're not even going to acknowledge it. It never happened. Boom. Let's move on. Because it really seems like that is just what's happened. But yeah, I guess we're still her boyfriend. Yeah. Why? Just in case there's something wrong, or she needs anything. It isn't what I meant, but I'll go along. Even if she did, she probably wouldn't call, yeah, obviously. That is how she is. Oh my god, does he not realize that she just basically can't? Well, if you know, coming all the way here for that though, he could have updated her via email. He does not like using emails. That's so old-fashioned. Don't tell me he still does business through regular mail or something. Yeah, who even does that? Silence. Now it's my turn to feel awkward. Is Hideaki taking it literally? Or did I hit the mark? Nah, I'm sure that what it really comes down to is that he does want to see his daughter and stay in contact with her. In the end, they are still family, after all, even though they play at being at each other's throats. Oh wow, the dad is actually here? The door to the student council room is open, and Hideaki and I walk in on Jigoro in mid-rant. He sees us, but decides that it's not something worth stopping rambling at Shizune over. This is really shaking my faith in my previous assumption. Oh god. Oh god, I actually got scared, you know. I forgot that her dad has a samurai sword, and if he finds out that we kinda cheated on Shizune, he's just gonna chop either our head off. Well, he's still gonna chop our head off. We don't know which one, but he's definitely gonna chop something off. When I was in the student council, our room was smaller. Colder too, like working out of a meat locker. Not like you spoiled kids. What a waste, sitting here in your giant room doing nothing. He's like the typical old-fashioned guy, you know. In my day, I had to walk 10 miles through the snow just to play a video game for 5 minutes. Aren't there only 3 of you? That makes having so many desks only seem like an unnecessary display of mindless decadence. Huh! Appalling! You must use the desk you need, and not one more. It is part of my code. It may be odd of me to think so, but hearing only one half of the conversation is pretty strange. Also, that's some code. Now that I've arrived, he changes the subject and starts talking about the reason he's here. How are they even talking? Like, you know, Shizune can't understand him. As far as I know, she doesn't know how to lip read, right? I think. Hideaki and I are going on a trip. What are you doing? Does everyone who uses sign language mumble while they do it? No, but I'm just an amateur. It helps me think. It's kind of like force of habit. Just an amateur, huh? Unbelievable. Fine, hey, it's still fucking better than you, okay? He turns back to Shizune just in time to catch her shaking her head from side to side. Are you sure you won't be coming along? She reiterates the gesture. Fine. Can you tell her to call me if she needs anything? Yes. I really think sending an email would have been easier, though. Huh! I'm not going to read emails on my phone. If she won't speak, she can call Hideaki. I suppose if I have to be reached, you would have to call me, or that other girl would have to call me. Actually, all 3 of you can just call Hideaki. And with that, he swiftly turns and leaves, Hideaki trailing behind him. A long trip for something that took 5 minutes exactly. But Jigoro was like, no, I'm not gonna turn on one of those demon machines called a personal computer. Neither of them can express their feelings very well. In Shizune's case, I have to question whether she would if she could, but it explains a lot. But she doesn't seem unhappy with the arrangement. Even so, I wonder if she might be. Who is it? When the door closes, oh, it's the door closing, I thought someone entering. When the door closes behind them, leaving Shizune and me all by ourselves, she lets out a deep breath that seems to echo in the silence of the room. It's totally ridiculous asking me to go on a trip. The timing couldn't be worse. It overlaps the student council elections, for one. Second, I haven't even cheered up Misha. If you consider that, it's annoying to even have anything else to think about. Yeah, but you might be too focused on all of that stuff right now. Shizune adjusts her glasses roughly. Completely, 100% right. The minute I decided I was going to cheer up Misha, everything else went on the back burner, I suppose. I think your dad might care about you more than he lets on. I know. So then, it could be a good idea. No. She flat out nope. And then again, more firmly, as if for both of us. No. After coming this far, I can't take a break. A vacation would be jarring. It would be like waking up in a different life. Yesterday was like my vacation, so now I have to go all in. I'm sorry, but that's just how I am. I remember what Yuko said, that she found Shizune brave, in a kind of way. I think I understand what she meant, and I have to agree. Even though it could also be called recklessness, and foolishness, and pointless stubbornness, I guess you could call it bravery too. However, I concede that there is a fundamental flaw in Shizune's thinking that I hadn't noticed until now. I'm sure that Shizune has reflected longer and more arduously than I could about where she messed up to create such a bad situation between her and Misha. However, as typical for her, she wouldn't let it hold her back and immediately set out to fix the problem. This completely ignores a large part of the problem, Misha herself, moving from critical introspection to holding Misha up as a part of a goal causes the person to get lost in the shuffle. Shizune has said a lot in the past few days, but nothing about how Misha feels. Shizune's way of thinking is abnormal. Few normal people would reject a friend and expect things to go back to the way they were so easily. Shizune does, because she sees life as, if I had to put it simply, capable of being segmented and compartmentalized. Misha, like anyone else, sees it as a whole experience, a long, continuous journey, where one moment of heartache can follow you forever, and that's the biggest problem, right? Because for Misha, it has been haunting her this entire time still. And basically for Shizune, it's like, alright, well, she confessed to me, no, and I said no, well, that's the end of that section, on to the next section of the life, but it's for some people, or most people, as I said here, it just doesn't work like that. Those things stick with you. You don't just forget about that and go back to the way things were before, after making such a grand, reveal or confession. And then also, I mean, with the confession, you expect one of two things to happen, right? You either expect a happy conclusion that you both end up together, or you expect a bad conclusion where the other person rejects you. But either way, the moment you have confessed, something is gonna change. It can't go back to normal, and that's the whole reason why it's always hard to make a confession, right? Because it's impossible to go back to normal. Even though they've tried to do it for so long, and Misha has just sucked it up, like she just kept it inside of her. Sure, it may have seemed like it was back to normal for both of them for quite a while, but it has come at the cost for Misha just suffering on the inside for so long. But yeah, with the confession, it's just it's going to change regardless. The moment you confess, you just sacrifice what has been happening before, the things that you had before, in the hope for something better. Or you end up with something worse. Either way, it's a gamble. So, yeah, that's just how it is sometimes. Sometimes it works out good, and sometimes it doesn't. But I guess Shizune kind of has trouble understanding that. For Shizune, an event is an event, and a few of them cross over. Life is compartmentalized around triumphs, failures, and decisions, where each one stands as its own story. It's why the thought of a vacation is jarring to her. It's why she can only appreciate people's immediate emotions. It's exactly how someone obsessed with living in the moment would think, really. Likewise, Shizune can see Misha as a friend, but I doubt that she has ever thought of Misha as anything more until recently, or questioned anything about her. Misha is Misha will be enough for her, even if to Misha it would be unbelievably stifling. Shizune is just Shizune to herself. It's likely she doesn't even think about the after effects of her actions in the long term, as long as they stir up other people's lives. To Misha though, I'm sure it made her seem almost heroic, like Yuko admiring her bravery, and even myself. And Shizune's thoughts on that sentiment are that it was good she could touch someone's life, but it ends there. It's easy to captivate, much harder to nurture. On to the next thing. Thinking of life in terms of almost completely isolated events has a tendency to isolate a person too. Though she's trying to remedy it now, the point remains. There is simply no way Shizune could have avoided hurting Misha. Her emotional investment in Shizune was something Shizune couldn't account for, so she didn't. Combined with her personality, it was inevitable. Both of them have pretty much told me all of that in bits and pieces over the past couple of months that I've known them. In the middle of considering their differences, an idea begins to take shape in my mind. Are you working on your plan right now? This second? Your cheer up Misha plan? Of course. I was thinking about it the whole time I was being yelled at. Flicking her glasses up the bridge of her nose, and with an oddly triumphant air, she taps her finger against her temple. It's multitasking. Really? Isn't it more like you're able to concentrate on something like that because you can't hear? Well, whatever. When I ask her what she thinks of mine, it turns out we've both arrived at a similar idea. Now, what is that idea? Tune in to find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Shoujo. I don't know.